What is going on, everyone? This is Mohammed, your personal PMP coach from Certify with Ease, coming back to you guys with another video. In this video, we are going to look at the 23 PMP mindset principles, but take a deeper dive. We're going to focus on the most common principles out of the 23 that you can expect on the exam. Very, very important. Throughout this video, there's going to be a link to a small prize, a small gift. So try to find it, watch through, and you'll find it, okay? Here's the thing before we begin. A lot of people, they just rely on the 23 mindset principles. Remember, when it comes to these principles, there are 3 steps. Number 1, frame the problem. Number 2, eliminate the answers that contradict our principles or do not solve the core problem. Number 3, choose the answer that best solves the problem. That's a little disclaimer because a lot of people, they rely too heavily on the principles, but they don't get anywhere. And we'll talk about that very, very shortly. Okay, so let's start right now with principle number 1, the most common principle that you can expect on the exam. Okay, so this is our course. We're going to use it for this small video over here, and we're going to talk about the most common principles. Okay, so I highlighted them in orange. Principle number 1 is simply about taking a step back. Anytime a PM encounters a problem, any problem for that matter, and one of the answers says the PM should take a step back, or this notion of the PM doesn't hastily make a decision, but takes that step back, investigates, discusses, analyzes, collects enough information to make a sound decision. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that you're looking for the words discuss, investigate, analyze, ask. Rather, the idea of taking a step back before making a decision, an actual action, that's what we're looking for. So let me put this into an example. Let's actually use a fun example. Let's say you're boxing and someone is constantly hitting you in the face. Rather than hitting him back at that moment, you're going to take a step back, reassess, realign, look at what's in front of you, and then decide on your next move. In the same way, when a PM faces a problem, you want to take a step back and not rush to solutions. Collect enough information, maybe discuss with your team members, and then decide on a solution. Very important. A lot of students get this wrong. They simply just look for the keywords. I don't want you guys to do that, okay? So this is a good example. So someone on Reddit called me out, and they said that my principle number 1 did not work for this question over here. Now, we're going to solve this question together because it is an excellent question and it answers an excellent point, okay? So a PM for an IT implementation is leveraging multiple IT resources. Remember, my last video, I talked about this. The first sentence, not important. It simply sets up the situation. It can be about IT, it can be about healthcare, it can be about whatever it may be. Second sentence is where we need to now focus. The FM, the functional manager of a technical specialist on the project team, has pulled the specialist away from the project to deal with the critical customer issue. Okay, we got a problem. We're dealing with a functional manager that has pulled away one of our resources. The delays meeting the project scheduled milestone. This delays meeting the project scheduled milestone. All right. What should we do first? So now we have our problem statement. That's our first step. Our second step is to look at the solutions and eliminate the ones that contradict our principles. Analyze the impact and delay losing the specialist will have on the schedule and budget. Okay. Analyze. Okay, fine. Keyword, principle number 1. We're taking that step back. Great. Ensure the specialist time working on the customer issue is not charged against the project's budget. This is not going to solve the core problem. Our core problem is one of our resources is missing. How do we deal with that? B is gone. C, schedule a meeting with the project stakeholders to review and accept the communications management plan. C is not a part of the problem. Why are we talking about the communications management plan? D, speak with the functional manager and gain commitment to get the specialist back as soon as possible. Okay, we are left with A and D. Now, obviously, you see the solution. Solution is D. But this individual on Reddit got a little bit angry at me and said, why is it not A? That's because this individual was just focused on the first word, analyze, and forgot about our first step, which was to frame the problem. I don't even want to analyze the impact and delay of losing a specialist because I don't want to settle for a delay. I don't even want a delay to occur in the first place. I don't even want to think about a delay. I want to do everything that I possibly can to avoid and mitigate a delay. A technically uses the analyze word, but it goes against principle number 2, which we're going to talk about soon. Because of that, we don't choose A. And if you look at D, D includes the functional manager. The functional manager is a part of the problem. You want to include this individual in the solution as well. That is why D is going to be the appropriate answer. D also follows principle number 1. By speaking with the functional manager, you are technically discussing, you are collecting more information, you're collaborating with the functional manager. Okay? Awesome. So that's principle number 1 in a nutshell. Very, very imperative principle over here. Okay? So let's move on to the next one over here. And this individual ended up passing, so did a good job, ended up passing, and he or she is now PMP certified. Okay? Awesome. Great. So let us move on to principle number 2. Number 2, never settle for delays or extra costs. However, an extra cost will always precede delays. If the question mentions wait, delay, postpone, extend, etc., eliminate that option. Pretty simple there, right? And I know in real life, projects are usually delayed, even if it's outside of our control. But for the PMP, we don't want to delay things. Why? What are the negative aspects of having a delay? If you delay something, especially a project, you have more costs now. You have to pay your employees more. You have to pay your maybe your contractors. You have to pay for equipment. More risks because you're extending the timeline. And the client will most probably be upset. Delays are very, very bad for projects. If you have the opportunities, let's say, for example, you cannot avoid a delay. There's no way it's going to happen. There's going to be a delay. But you have the chance to spend some money to compress the schedule. Then that's an option that you can use. Okay? But for this question, let's look at question number 4, actually, using our course. And let's solve it together. Okay? So I don't want you guys to look at the what is it called? The question itself. I just want you to focus on the answers. Very, very important. I'm going to block out the question. I want you to focus on the answers and tell me what you can eliminate just from this principle alone. Add the new feature to the list for the next release and continue working on the current release. Okay. Doesn't seem like anything wrong here. Create a special release 4 weeks after the current release to deliver the new feature in its entirety. 4 weeks after sounds like a delay. I'm not sure what the question is. We are going to read it together. But if it's 4 weeks after the current release, and if it's an important feature, I need to work on it in the current release, not 4 weeks after. So let's put a soft X on this one. Stop the current release. Okay, so we have stop. We don't want to do that. Eliminate. 4, plan the delivery of a minimal viable feature in 2 weeks to enable early showcasing of business value. Okay, great. That sounds like the answer. We have MVF in this case, minimal viable feature. Let's read the question now. Companies A and B are co-developing a cutting-edge technology product based on customer feedback. The marketing department urgently requests a new feature in 2 weeks. Okay, We need this feature in 2 weeks. Company's A front end is ready, but the company B, which requires 4 weeks to deliver the complete back end, is busy with the current release. What should the PM do to obtain agreement from both companies and acceptance from marketing? Okay. So with that in mind, we got 2 weeks now. We got 2 weeks to create this new feature, but company B needs 4 weeks. Now it's a big problem. We can't do A. It's going to create a delay. We need it done in 2 weeks. We can't do B because that's too late, 4 weeks after. We're not going to stop anything. So we're going to go with D. Have a minimal viable product, minimal viable feature in this case, to show something that's minimal, but that can get us feedback. We were able to eliminate 3 out of 4 options just from one principle. Remember, the principles are embedded in the answers. They might not be so clear. They might not use stop or wait or delay. You have to read it and understand that, okay, this implies a delay. Great. Awesome. So we're doing good. Let us move on to the next principle. Let me just see if there's something missing in the slides. 1 second over here. Okay, let's move on to principle number 3. Principle number 3 is all about being a servant leader. All about being a servant leader. You have 2 parts of servant leadership. You have encourage, support, nurture. These are the key words. In other words, be a coach, right? Just like a coach to, let's say, a baseball team or a business coach or whatever is encouraging, is supportive, it nurtures you, is honest. You want to be like a coach, okay? And that's an important way. That's a good way to remember that. Be like a coach or be like a caring parent. That is servant leadership. You want to see your team grow. You want them to be successful. You want them to be leaders. That is servant leadership. The second part of principle number 3 is do not expose anyone. Your team members, when they mess up, when they underperform, do not expose them to the rest of the team members. Very, very important. Okay? Now let's look at question number 9 for this example. Let's go back over here. There's a special link somewhere in this program, in this entire video. If you guys find it, comment in the comment section. Don't comment the link, but let me know if you find it, okay? All right, so a project manager notices that a new junior team member's suggestions are constantly being rejected by senior team members. The senior team member finds the suggestions valid and innovative, but unrealistic. Following several project assignments, the senior members request to have the junior team member removed. What should the PM do next? Quick note here, guys. When you have a when you have a small-sized question like this, the first sentence is going to be important. When you have a medium length or a large length question, first sentence is just usually setting up the situation. But anyways, let's look at the answers. Encourage further and deeper discussions among team members. I like the word encourage. Very good. Servant leader like. Accept the demands and remove the junior team member. Now, would this be a good solution? Would a coach or a caring parent do that just because a junior team member comes up with a suggestion? You're just going to remove them? No. Group the new team members together for training purposes. So this is not a training question. This is simply just, someone suggesting something. No need to do that. Remove possible conflicts from the future project assignments. How? Number 1, they don't explain that. Number 2, if they mean removing the junior team member, that's going back to B. So we have A as our answer. This is pretty simple, but I want you guys to understand the principles. That's the main important part. Okay? So again, just to reiterate, when it comes to servant leadership, you have 2 parts. You got to encourage, support, nurture, be a coach, and don't expose anyone. These are the most common 2 things that you will see on your exam repeatedly. All right, let's move on to principle number 6. This is another very common principle that you can expect on the exam. So let's go back to our principle list over here. Change management. Change management, big topic on the exam. PMP doesn't go too much into it, so it's good. It's good to understand in very general terms. So any change will go through a change request process, predictive. There's no official change request process for Agile. Now, what does that mean? That means that it doesn't follow the same change request process as a predictive project will. Agile welcomes changes. That's the main part of Agile. We need customer feedback to change our product. Predictive, because of its nature of being predictive, because we've done it so many times, we don't like changes. When it comes to a predictive project, we purchase everything up front, all the materials, all the contractors, everything that we need, we purchase it up front. That's why changes are highly, highly discouraged. It's just going to add unnecessary costs. Agile, on the other hand, guys, we take a minimal viable product or feature approach. We take a minimal approach, do a little bit by a little bit, reiterate, and then refine, get the new product. So changes are welcome. Okay. All right. So let's look at our PowerPoint over here. Okay. So one important thing to remember for change requests is that when the scope, schedule, budget is being affected, and all these three things are related. They're related. If you extend the scope, you're extending the budget. If you increase the budget, that probably means that you want to add more to the scope. If you increase the scope size, you're increasing the budget and the schedule. So they're all related somehow. But the point here is that if the scope, schedule, or budget are affected, change request is needed. No negotiations. Change request is a must. Okay, let's look at a problem over here that we have written down. Question: you are managing a project to implement a new inventory management system for a regional retail chain. Again, setting up the situation, not really that important. The important part is going to be the second sentence and onwards. The project is currently in the execution phase and your team has just completed the integration testing of the software with the client's existing systems. Okay, not really that important. Maybe the execution phase part is. During a stakeholder review meeting, the operations manager requests a new feature that allows for real-time tracking of warehouse deliveries. This feature was not part of the original scope, and implementing it will require additional development resources and extend the schedule by at least 2 weeks. The client expresses strong interest in the feature, citing improved operation efficiency. What should the PM do next? Problem statement is very simple. We simply want to add something to the scope. We want to change the scope. That is the problem statement. That is what the operations manager wants to do. So A, begin working on the requested feature immediately to maintain the client satisfaction and demonstrate responsiveness. Okay. Update the project scope, schedule, and budget documents to include the new feature and notify the sponsor. Okay. Evaluate the impact of the requested change and submit a formal change request. That's our answer right there. You got the word evaluate, fine, great. But because you are changing the scope, you need to submit a change request. Reject the request. We never reject a request or an opportunity. That's going to be one of our principles from our list. Best answer here is going to be C. And let us move on to principle number 7. So this is another common principle. Your team members are the experts, not you. Make every single decision with them. We got a saying in project management. Actually, it's not really a saying. I was just told this advice. When I was beginning in project management, someone told me that if you are actually doing the work as a project manager, you are a bad project manager. Meaning if you're building the actual house instead of managing, instead of delegating, you are a bad project manager. Now, I know in real life, the project manager has to wear multiple hats because there's no resources and this and that. That's another story. But in reality is that the reality is it's true. If you have enough resources, if you have your team members, but you're not able to properly delegate them and you start doing their work, then it's a big problem. Okay? Obviously, considering that they're competent and everything is. Real life is different than when it comes to PMP, guys. So don't break your head over this. But team members are your experts. Do everything with them. So let's look at a problem right over here. Okay, so we got a question. You know what? Let's look at the answers. Forget about the question. We're training our mind to develop the PMP mindset. Let's look at the answers. Escalate, so we don't want to escalate the concern to the project sponsor. Proceed with implementing the change as directed, but document the developer's concerns in the risk register. All right. Now, this sounds like a solution, which is great. But is there something that we can do before that? Something along the lines of principle number 1. Convene a technical discussion with the team to evaluate alternative solutions or mitigations before finalizing implementation. I like that. You're discussing things with your team. They are the experts. They'll be able to properly inform you. Very good. D, roll back the approved change and request the business analyst to submit a revised request with fewer risks. I don't read the question, but rolling back the approved change is kind of strange. If the change has been approved, you don't want to roll it back. It doesn't make sense. Or meaning you don't want to kind of disapprove it. Okay. C is going to be the best answer. Read this question, frame the problem, understand what it is, and then solve the question using our 3-step method. Okay. Awesome. So what's another common principle that you can expect on the exam? Principle number 8. Escalate. This word. This word is a beautiful word. Escalate. Now, we see this a lot in the PMP, but the exam is very, very sneaky. The exam will mention not escalate, but something that implies escalation. Even if you are discussing, even if they mention discuss or convene a meeting, if it involves someone not involved in the situation, that is escalation. You don't want to involve that person. Let's say, for example, HR. Let's say, one of your team members is underperforming. That is your responsibility as a PM. If one of your team members is underperforming, deal with it. Speak to the team member. Don't escalate it to HR. Sponsor. The sponsor's job, probably the most important, because without the sponsor, we wouldn't have a project. But he or she is mainly involved in the beginning of, or even before the project comes into existence. But then after that, for the PMP exam, not SH, not study hall, I'm talking about the actual PMP exam. The sponsor, I've never seen a question where the sponsor is actually involved. Unless the situation directly involves the sponsor, the question mentions the sponsor, then the answer can obviously mention the sponsor. And you don't want to go to CEO, upper management. That's one thing that you can also see on your exam questions. Don't involve the CEO or upper management. Okay. We're not going to do this question, principle 8, because it's pretty simple. I think everyone gets it. It's very, very common, right? And this is one of the answers you can quickly eliminate. Awesome. All right, so don't just focus on escalation. Whatever implies escalation, that's what you want to focus on, even if they don't use the word escalate. Principle number 16, a very, very common principle. This applies for agile projects. Agile projects are self-organizing. And if you think about it, ask yourself why. Why are agile projects self-organizing and not predictive projects? Because agile projects are known to move very, very quickly. A lot of changes coming in. A lot of high impact features. Feedback. Customer wants this, customer wants that. Your team does not have time to come to you for every single decision. Rather, they should be self-organizing. Let your team handle it. Unless there's a serious conflict or no progress, then as a project manager, you have to step in. If there's a conflict, people are arguing, which impedes progress, you need to step in to fix things up, facilitate, and push your team forward. Okay? Let's look at another problem over here. Let's read through this entire problem. You are managing an agile project to develop a customer feedback dashboard for a SaaS company. Again, we're setting up the situation. Midway through the current sprint, the PO receives feedback from key stakeholders suggesting a different visualization method for the dashboard. The PO shares this feedback with you and asks for your advice on how to proceed. Okay, so this PO shares the feedback with the PM. As the PM, you review the suggestion and realize it could improve the product, but it required changing some components that the team has already started developing. You also know your team is highly experienced in self-organizing. Okay, so on your exam, they're not going to make it this obvious, right? You just have to assume that, hey, this is an agile project. It is assumed that my team is self-organizing. What should you do next? Ask the PO to formally update the backlog and work with you to reprioritize the remaining sprint tasks. Okay, so this is more of a technical problem. You're not going to really see the principles in action here. Rather, you have to understand how the agile development cycle works. The PO, the product owner, is that middle person, the middleman or the middlewoman between the customer and the project team. Customer and project team. Customer might have a suggestion. The PO takes that suggestion, brings it up to the project team. So you need to involve the project team. A does not. A involves the PM, but not the project team. Call a meeting with this key stakeholder and the team to discuss whether change should be implemented immediately or deferred. Okay, I like that more. Recommend that the product owner wait until the sprint review. So again, never wait. If we need to address something now, we address something now. If we wait, there's going to be a delay. Ask the PO to bring the suggestion to the team and allow them to assess and decide how to handle it within the sprint. Ooh. We're left with B and D. Excellent. Now, what's the solution here? Pause this video and tell me what the solution is. I won't hear it, obviously, but pause this because it's really good. This will test your understanding of Agile. Should I involve the key stakeholder and the team in one meeting? Or should I have a conversation with the team? I already know what this key stakeholder wants. Should I just bring that now to the team? You guys let me know in the comment section below and tell me what the answer is. This is a very good question. It will test your technical understanding of Agile. Tell me what the answer is and give me a little concise explanation why the other one is not the answer. Okay? Awesome. All right, principle number 18. We are almost done, guys. The most important principles: never immediately reject a request or an opportunity, especially from a client. So we kind of touched upon this lightly. Sorry, which question was this? Question number 10. Okay. So a new team member has joined a project team. During the first sprint, the new team member approached the project manager, requested to implement a new way of testing. The team has been resistant to the proposed change. What should the PM do? All right, great. We have a suggestion. What should we do about this suggestion? Now, if you look at B, they use the coach word. A lot of people now, oh man, I don't like this at all. Because the principles at this point will be working against you. Just because they say they use the word coach does not mean that is the answer. Rather, read the whole thing. Coach the new team member to conduct the testing the way it has always been done. If you do that, you are rejecting the opportunity that this new team member brings. The only answer that actually acknowledges this suggestion is schedule a meeting with a new team member to learn about the new testing method. And if you think about it, It is taking a step back. It is principle number one. Best answer here is going to be A. Simple question. And don't worry, our course has harder questions. As you go down, it gets harder and harder and harder. So don't worry about that. If you're interested, there's a secret link somewhere in this video. Make sure you click and you sign up. All right. I'm just going to say that for now. Somewhere in this video, I'm not going to give you guys a timestamp. There's a secret link. Don't expose a timestamp in the comment section, guys. All right. Awesome. Okay. So we're doing good. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these videos. I know they're a little bit drab. They're a little bit boring. That's just project management in itself. But I want you guys to pass as soon as possible. If you're enjoying it, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe, share it with everyone. The channel has been growing so greatly because of all of you guys. Okay. Principle number 19. I believe this is the last one, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go back. Yes, it is. All right. So you may read a question that mentions something about similar projects have been done in the past. If the question takes time or goes about its way to mention that similar past projects have been completed, make sure you leverage that information. They want you to use that information in the answers. So you want to go back, you want to see, lessons learned, OPAs, something that references back to these similar past projects. Do I got a question over here? Yes, we do. Okay. Question. You have just been assigned as a PM for a new initiative to implement a cloud-based document management system for your company. While reviewing the project charter and meeting with stakeholders, you learn that a similar system was implemented 2 years ago for a different department. They want you to use that information. That project faced several delays due to vendor integration issues and user resistance to the new system. The sponsor asks you to ensure that your team avoids repeating the same mistakes. Now, this question makes it too obvious, but on your real exam, it'll be very subtle. They'll say, this project or something similar has been completed. They'll say it very quickly. So don't miss it. What should you do next? Schedule a meeting with the previous project manager to get their insights and recommendations. Okay. Yeah, technically we can do that. We'll still learn more, but let's see what else there is. Review the risk register template from the previous project and adopt it for your current project. So, all right, great, but we're not really... I guess you can, because several delays imply risks. Okay. Request access to the previous project's final status report to identify what went wrong. Review the lessons learned register from the previous project to identify relevant insights. Lessons learned register is what you want. This is a tool that is going to come up very, very often on your exam. You are going to see it. What is a lessons learned register? Well, when you finish a project, every single lessons learned from everything that has to do with the charter, the budget, the schedule, the risk, everything is in this lessons learned register. So D is a complete answer. B just focuses on the risks, and D focuses on everything. D is going to be a great answer. Okay. So you now know the most common principles you can expect on the exam. We're making this video in the summer. I want you guys to make a soft oath that you will get PMP certified, or you will actually genuinely attempt to get PMP certified before the summer ends. Life gets busy. The longer you extend your goals, the longer you delay them, the more risks of failure. Okay? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and have a fantastic rest of the day.